Hello, Danny from Bury to How are you going?
Yeah, I'm very well, thank you very much. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Thanks for asking. So we're at Nottingham's Rock City.
hmm
You're on tour with Bury Tomorrow. How's it been going so far? And how are you feeling about it all?
Yeah, like really, really good to be honest with you.
Mhm.
It's been a while since we've done a headliner. Be able to play, we played Rock City quite a few times. To be able to say that we're headlining Rock City is a
Mm.
pretty prestigious moment for our band. Pretty staple point of kind of our career. To be honest with you, played Rescue Rooms quite a few times as a head support, as a headliner. But to be able to step up to the big room is a pretty big achievement for us. So yeah, I mean the whole tour has surpassed all expectations really. Got some great guys on the road with us as well, and it's really good.
What kind of things do you hear about Rock City? So is it kind of, because obviously you're not from Nottingham, you know,
No.
but is it kind of like once you get to Rock City, that's the kind of like that's a bit of a thing when you
Yeah,
get to headline?
I think it's one of those things. I think it doesn't need. You don't really need to be a genius to work out. You know, you look at the size of the room. It is a huge room, and so many tours come through here. And I think that is quite a testament to kind of Nottingham scene, but also like the venue, the people that run the venue. It's obviously all in-house as well, which is quite rare for like when you get over 1,000 caps in the UK. I think it's quite rare for them to be independently run because usually someone like O2 or someone takes over. But you know, it's still all in-house. It's still great. And we always get treated well, so you know, both by fans and also the people that run the place. So it's always a good time, and we've never had a bad show here. So fingers crossed tonight is the same.
And you've got some good supports with you, including Crossfaith with you. How have you picked them? How have those kind of come to be on tour with you this time?
I mean, Crossfaith are one of those bands. We played probably more shows with that band than any other band in the world. So we did tours with them in Japan in 2010. We've done like the Mice and Men tour in 2011, like 12. We played countless festivals. Like we just know them so well. They're great guys. They're an amazing live band. Like I think that's really where they shine, to be honest with you. And the fact that they are they're such showmen. They're an amazing group of guys as well. We're absolutely privileged to call them our friends as well. But yeah, I mean, and they've also in their own right done amazing things. You know, they headlined Coco, which is the last place that we headlined. You know, in London, and so you know they draw tickets. It's not all just friends on the road. It's obviously a business move as well. So they're a big band and they bring a lot of diversity. And when it comes to like BT and what our ethos is it'd be a really boring show if every single band were the same. You know, because you'd be watching the same band from start to finish. You know, so for us being able to bring bands with such musical diversity is one of the privileges of being a headliner. You know, so that band fit the bill perfectly as a head support for sure.
And you had your most recent album last year, is that correct? So is this the first time you've kind of taken this out to the UK really like properly?
Yeah, this is the first headliner. So we were going to do it earlier in the year, but obviously we toured with Parkway Drive, which was obviously a huge deal for our band because we'd never actually had the opportunity to do that before. And we also had the absolute honour of being on the Architects tour, and that usually would have been where we kind of would have probably done a headliner. But the nature of that tour, the emotional element that it has going into it as well, and obviously they're good friends of ours as well, so supporting a UK band in their biggest ever tour yet was really something that we felt like we couldn't really turn down. So you know, we were honoured to be given that opportunity and we took it. So yeah, it kind of feels like it's been a little while since the album came out, which it has been. But it feels good. It feels like we've done the right thing, and the tickets are reflecting that. It's been really good. The fans are more hungry to hear those songs, so I think it's given them the opportunity to learn a bit more as well about you know the album, what it's about, what they like, what they don't like. You know, so fingers crossed. And it's for us as well. You know, we've gauged what fans like, what they don't like, so then we can manipulate our set because there's nothing worse than playing all the album songs that no one really cares about. So, yeah.
And what have you found so far from that? And what do fans kind of like? Is there kind of like different groups of fans maybe that like different things on the album? And what have you kind of learnt so far from playing it?
Yeah, I think that's the nature of being in a band that's both heavy and also quite melodic as well, is that you have that kind of diversity in your fan base. You've got the people that are like, oh, I wish there was more singing, or there's people that are like, oh, I wish there was more screaming. It's that kind of like, you have that juxtaposition being a metalcore band. But I think, you know, generally this album is the most staple all the way through. It's a very live orientated album. We wanted to make an album that really was our set. You know, it was us playing live from start to finish. So in that respect, I think we could have played anything now, and looking at that experience, we probably could have played any song on that album. Bear in mind it's only a 10-track album. We probably could have played the entire album plus a couple more songs. So, but to that element, people seem to love the heavy side of it, especially live, because obviously that's the whole point of going to a metal show, is that you have that element of really, the brutality. But every one of our songs has melody in it, so I think, our fans are expectant of that, but they also want a lot of the older songs. And on this tour, we've kind of put in some kind of wild cards. But when you're a band that's 4 albums in and you release 4 singles per album, every single album, you're kind of like strapped for choice when it comes to actually what you're going to pick. So this tour, we've kind of put in a little bit of wild cards and fed them the ones that they want from Earthbound, and then kind of mixed it up with our older stuff as well.
Now, you kind of touched on it a little bit there, like being a live band or being a band on a record, on an album. What do you prefer? It's a question that I've asked a few bands before, but and I've had quite different answers. Do you write music to play it live or to play in the studio, and which do you prefer? Or there must be a huge difference in the two. What?
Yeah, there is. Yeah, no, you're completely right. I think a lot of bands these days don't write for a live element, and I think, considering we're a band, I joined the band when I was 16 years old, like almost 10 years ago now. And for me, is that we've always written songs that we could play live, because we don't believe that you should ever surpass that. We're never going to play the backing tracks. We're never going to do any of that side of stuff. Like, we're not a pop band. We're a metal band. We're a band that feels like musicians should be musicians. So for us, the live element is always something we have to think about when we go into a studio. Obviously, you embellish. You do a bit more of the kind of flamboyancy, for a use of a better word. But in some of the other albums we've kind of done acoustic tracks or more melodic tracks than we'd say do live. But I think with Earthbound specifically, it purely is a live album. It was made for that intention and that intention alone. It wasn't a natural process that kind of came out and then we spun it. That's what we were kind of going for. We went into that studio believing that we're going to do no intros, no interludes, nothing. It was going to be like coming to see us at Download, and it's not almost a headline set. It's like almost coming and seeing us at a festival, playing a 45-minute set, because that's how long the album is. It's 45 minutes, So for that element of it, I think live side of it was a real turning point for us. And we took out all the stuff that we felt was filler on Rooms, and we just decided to make it what it was. So, yeah, I mean, it's certainly something you have to think about, and I think more bands should probably think about the live element, because a lot of the times they get stuck trying to emulate that live or all the stuff that they put in the studio.
And so obviously you've got various tours going on, as you said, like in the past kind of 6 months alone you've been with Architects, Parkway Drive, and now the headline tour. What's next for Bury Tomorrow? Is there new music on the way? And obviously the album was only last year, but what's coming?
Yeah, I think we're always ready to write. I think in this day and age you can't wait, because I think kids are always, I say kids in the loosest term, but your fans are usually, they're hungry for music. I mean, you can release an album, release every song 10 tracks, and then the next week someone's like, oh, when are you going to release a new album? It's just the nature of music. People get excited about it, and it'd be rubbish if it was a place where no one really cared if you released new music or not. So it's the exciting element of it. So we're of course going to write, going to be in the studio. It's kind of a little bit of a quieter year for us, which is a good thing, because we've had such a hectic kind of year and a half. Like, it's been extended, because it would have usually been that 12-month bracket of releasing an album, doing a headline tour, going on various tours. But this year has kind of just been crazy, So for us, we're going to take a little bit of time. We're going to do some writing, do some pre-production for our new album. But then we've got a bunch of festivals that we're doing over the summer. We usually spend half of our year in Germany, and then we're kind of planning to do something special at the end of the year in a sense of like a regional tour. But we did like a Stage Invasion tour quite a while ago, which was like anywhere from 110 capacity pub to like, I think we played Reading Sub 89, which is the biggest venue, so like 500 caps. So I think for us on this run, we're going to try and do that again, and we'll do a part 2, and maybe incorporate some of our older stuff that we haven't been able to play on this tour from our first album, which it's in 2 years' time. It'll be coming up to 10 years that we released that album, so it's we might do a 10-year early, so we'll see what happens.
Wow, well, it's all very exciting. One final question. one musician or vocalist, I guess, that is sort of the pinnacle, the pioneer of music for you as a person, as a musician or vocalist, just someone that's really kind of you look up to as the one, I guess, if you can put it down to just one.
Yeah, I mean, I think I gather a lot of influence from so many different people. From my vocal style, obviously someone like Winston from Parkway Drive is a real big influence for me. We pretty much have exactly the same technique of how we do our vocals. He's also, I think that band as a whole are incredibly positive about life, about everything. You know, they've gone from playing in front of 5 people to playing in front of 5,000 people, 10,000 people, 15,000 people. You know, so I think, and maintain that kind of credibility and that honesty about what they feel. You know, and I love that band for that reason. You know, but I think, in a general kind of being a musician, I'd probably say someone like Jacoby Shaddix or Jacoby Shaddix from Papa Roach or Corey Taylor from Slipknot, just because it was like the era of like new metal music was the era that metal music really, I don't think we'll ever get back to that size and that grandeur. You know, people like Limp Bizkit, Papa Roach, Slipknot, there's bands that were selling millions and millions of records. Slipknot released Iowa and it was #1 in the charts. So it's like, for me to be able to look up to that level of like fame and that level of championing heavy music, I don't think there's anyone you can't look up to, and anyone that can't look up to someone like Corey Taylor, because Slipknot are the biggest metal band in the world. There's no doubt about it. They're the biggest, most heavy band in the world as well. So I'd probably say Corey Taylor is like that's my pinnacle. That's where I would want to be one day, for sure.
Well, thank you very much. It's been lovely chatting to you. Have a lovely show.
Thanks.
Cheers.
It's all good. I'll do that.
Yeah, shit, I forgot.
It's all good.